Hello everyone, I'm Joshua.
And I'm Josh too.
And today we're going to be capping off our Child's Play franchise review series, and that is with the 7th installment in this franchise, and that is Cult of Chucky from 2017.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Chucky told me. He's coming for you.
Cult of Chucky on Blu-ray and digital October 3rd.
Cult of Chucky stars Fiona Dourif, Jennifer Tilly, Brad Dourif, Alex Vincent, and is directed by Don Mancini. The plot of Cult of Chucky is that Chucky returns to terrorize his human victim, Nika, who's confined into an asylum for the criminally insane. Meanwhile, the killer doll has some scores to settle with his old enemies, with the help of his former wife. Okay, so before I get into the rest of this, just like to say, just like with our review of Seed of Chucky, our opinions are
Pretty different.
yeah, polar opposites. Although I think they're kind of more in line with each other this time around than they did with Seed of Chucky, just a little bit. It's not quite that polarizing in terms of like our opinions on the movie.
I think Seed of Chucky was better than this, but
We'll get into that later. So one of my positives I definitely have is visually it looks pretty good. It's still visually in line with the last film, Curse of Chucky, in regards to the cinematography and just the look. I do like the overall cinematography of the film. Another positive I have is, Fiona Dourif as Nika.
yeah.
She's honestly probably the best acted character and gives off the best performance in this entire movie.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, just like I said in Curse of Chucky, she is still a much welcome addition to this franchise.
I really liked, really most of like the new concepts. It's probably gonna be in your mixed or negatives.
Yeah, I think so too. Cause
I really liked most of the newer concepts.
oh, I also did like the music. Still, it's still composed by Joseph LaDuca, who composed the last one, and also composed the Evil Dead movies and that. So it's still pretty good music here. And it's actually one of the few times where they end up reusing certain old themes and that from previous installments.
Yeah.
So, which you normally don't see that. They always change up like the themes and stuff like that in every single movie. I think that's because it's a different composer working on it.
I really liked too the mental hospital setting.
Now, I will say, I do kind of prefer the mental hospital setting in this than they did with just the Hanfield Memorial Hospital setting Halloween 2, because at least this feels more,
It's more believable, right?
bit more, in regards to, because in Halloween 2, like the original Halloween 2, that is a pretty damn empty hospital, especially for it being on Halloween night.
Yeah.
Even in regards to its staff, and
Yeah.
it's pretty vacant.
Right.
So kind of unrealistic
Yeah.
with that. This one's a bit more so. There's a lot more staff members. There's, of course, a lot of patients there. I kind of did dig that compared to Halloween 2. It just felt a little bit more realistic in that regard. We do have some things we're mixed on, so let's get right into them.
My biggest one was there was the scene transition where she's looking out the window when Chucky's out there with her quote-unquote boyfriend. And I wouldn't say it's a negative for me because I think it was a cool scene, I think it was a cool editing ploy, but I think if they were
And here's the thing with me too that I'm mixed on with that. Oh, it's cool trick in
It
that.
should have been the whole movie.
Yeah, like, cause it's almost like that. It only appeared in that one shot and wasn't consistent. You know,
Right.
like almost like they completely changed how aesthetically the film looked just for that one trick.
Right. And it felt out of place for that, so
Yeah.
that's kind of my biggest mixed thing for this.
I've noticed that too with just certain stuff in this movie. Like they would change aesthetic and stuff like that, and it just doesn't. It's not consistent
Yeah.
in terms of aesthetic wise. Visually, it looks good. With, like I mentioned, my positives, but in terms of consistency in that, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
I would prefer it if Don Mancini just stuck to one kind of style
Right.
and went on with that with the movie. Although I will say this, it does feel a bit lower budget than the last one, even though the last one was a straight to video. So, but still pretty good in regards to being, even though it's a bit lower budget.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm mixed on too is while at the same time it does, but the whole mental hospital setting does feel more lived in than, let's say, something like the original Halloween 2, where it's pretty vacant and all that stuff and just doesn't seem as realistic.
Right.
I do say the cast of characters they got here, not really all that great. In fact, some of them I barely even don't remember, really.
Yeah.
They just kind of felt like they were in there just to amp up the body count.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, you don't really get to know much about them aside from just, I guess, some of the kind of stereotypical, like, mental hospital traits, you know?
Yeah.
That you see, and that's about it. Even one of them even was just there as a kind of fake out for the audience, with multiple Malcolm. So, remember when he got pushed into the grave with Chucky and that, and it's like, you know, and you think Chucky transferred his soul into him and that, but it was just meant as a fake out. Really?
Yeah.
I'm like, so all he's really there for is just as a fake out, really. And all these other characters that they throw in, sometimes some of them barely interact with our main character, you know? And know that too, just overall, they were just throwaway characters, really.
Yeah.
I guess another thing I'm mixed on, you could say, is the practical effects for Chucky.
Oh, yeah.
So, on the one hand, I do think there's a lot more practical effects in this one than there was in Curse of Chucky, where, if you notice in Curse of Chucky, a lot of his face was CGI'd in that. So, but on the other hand, it does look even much more lower budget than Curse of Chucky with that. And Chucky just seems off.
Yeah, like his movements.
His movements, even just his facial movements and that.
Right.
Outside of that, that's about really it in terms of stuff I'm mixed on. We do have some negatives, so let's just move right into them.
My only negative really was like there was a lot of poor acting, man. That was definitely a negative, not mixed for
The only one who seemed to even be trying was Fiona Durr.
Yeah, even like Brad Dourif seemed like put up with this role, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like he read the script and it's like, really? We're doing this shit?
Yeah.
I even did fucking see the Chucky for crying out loud.
Yeah,
so.
It was pretty cheesy acting for the most part. And not just cheesy, just no
not
soul.
like, yeah, no soul. It was like soulless.
Yeah.
So from everybody, really.
Yeah.
Again, except with the exception of Fiona Durr, but I think she was the only one who was even trying. Also, too, in regards to portrayals and stuff like that, too, first of all, let's get to the thing that most people would normally come for these movies. Chucky. Wasn't a fan of this portrayal of Chucky. Again, a part of that may have to do with the fact that Brad Dourif wasn't really that into it this time around.
Right.
But also, too, just some of the, this is one of the few movies, maybe the only movie where I could say that Chucky didn't felt like Chucky.
Yeah.
Because even at least seated Chucky felt like Chucky. And this didn't really felt like Chucky. Maybe that's why Brad Dourif just didn't really put much into it.
Right.
Maybe because he noticed that.
Well, maybe he was just written badly, you know?
Yeah. And that's another thing, too. It seemed like he was written badly, too.
Yeah.
So, and also his humor is not very great.
Humorous, yeah.
I at least remember laughing at some stuff with Seed of Chucky with him, but not in this one.
Yeah.
His jokes really fell flat. At the most, in terms of humor, you might get a few, kind of short chuckles. I got a few short chuckles with the free Chuckies. That was about it.
Yeah.
That was literally about it.
Oh, I remember another David.
What?
Andy.
Oh yeah, let's talk about him.
Yeah.
Now, on the one hand, I think, because they reintroduced him in Curse of Chucky for after credit scene, which that was a pretty awesome after credit scene. So, a lot of people, including myself, was pretty excited to see what they're going to do with the character.
Right.
Especially since they brought back the original actor of the first two movies. And I would say he only has one badass moment in this movie, and that's the opening scene. Where he has Chucky's head and all that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, where he's torturing Chucky and stuff like that. That's probably his only good scene in the movie.
Yeah. He was definitely a wasted character.
Yeah. Because it's like, what was even his plan? So apparently he had some sort of plan to bust Nika out of the hospital and stuff like that.
Right.
But it's like, what was even his fucking plan anyway?
Yeah.
Because every decision he made fucked him in the ass. And honestly, the writing for him just made him out to be a complete fucking dumbass. And that's not what I wanted to see.
Right.
What about you?
No, it was definitely a letdown.
Yeah. To the point now, I'm not sure if I'm really that excited to see him again in the Chucky TV show that's coming out soon.
Right.
Because if he's just going to be written the same way, because it's Don Mancini working on this TV show.
It's kind of like, what's the point?
Yeah, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Oh, another negative I have too in terms of characters and acting, Jennifer Tilly. Now, I feel like the only time Jennifer Tilly was actually pretty good in the series was Bride of Chucky.
Well, she was okay in Seeing Chucky.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I liked her in Seeing Chucky. But yeah, I agree for this one.
Yeah, this is probably the worst I've seen her in regards to this franchise. I mean, she basically almost seems like she was just phoned in, you know,
Yeah.
and that's it. You know, it's like, and she gives that kind of performance too. In fact, even when she tries to re-quote certain lines from the franchise and stuff like that, it's like, if you compare like some of the lines and stuff like that from the, like that she's meant like kind of homaging and that, they're weak. Very, very weak and almost cringe-worthy at times. And even then, Jennifer Tilly didn't really get to do much in this movie either.
Yeah.
Again, she almost felt like another throwaway character.
I think totally she was.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's could have been some interesting things you could have done bring Tiffany back in the picture.
Right.
So, I even mentioned to you what I would do with a Chucky movie in regards to that.
Yeah.
So, and you thought that was way better than what Don Mancini came up with.
Yeah.
Okay, another negative I have is the whole twist they have where Chucky's able to transfer his soul into basically anything, can split his soul and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, which is why we get free Chuckies. Okay, because the whole thing was, throughout the franchise, it's like, it was one of his whole reasons for going after Andy and stuff like that.
Right.
You know? And now it's just like, and also the way they introduced it, like how Chucky was able to, like the explanation of him figuring out this new voodoo spell was pretty fucking weak.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, he made some sort of, like, it was basically a kind of like a throwaway joke.
Dummies, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I found it on voodoo4dummies.com and it changed everything. I'm now OPT and stuff like that with it.
A few years ago, I came across this groovy new spell on voodoo4dummies.com that changed everything. Now, I can be me, and me, and me. And theoretically, anyone or anything with 2 legs and a hand for stabbing.
And now you could basically just transfer a soul into anything and have multiple hymns around. And of course they did that with Nika at the end of the film.
Right.
So, and which I will say, to be honest, Fiona Redurf does not do a bad job imitating Chucky.
Even like the crazy smile and stuff.
Yeah, and the laugh. So we had some issues with that in regards, because it's really continuity breaking.
Yeah.
It just felt like a lazy way for Don Mancini to basically try to put something new within this franchise.
Right.
You know, which I heard originally he wanted to do that with Child's Play 3, I think. Like multiple Chuckies, and the original way he had about it, I think would have worked better. So basically, you know, in the opening scene of Child's Play 3 where, you know, they pick up the body and stuff like that, the corpse of the doll, and then at the end of Child's Play 2,
Yeah.
moves it over to like the melted plastic and stuff like that. His blood gets mixed in, and then that's how he's resurrected. Originally, they were going to have utilize that to basically make multiple Chuckies. What, that worked out better than what they did here?
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, so it just felt lazy.
Yeah.
Really lazy. Also, too, an issue I had was the gore.
Yeah.
I think the gore was too over the top. And even for this franchise.
Yeah.
So, now, while it's probably the most goriest film of the franchise, I do think it's like, even the gore looks too fake.
Yeah.
You know, it looks too cartoonish almost. Like, I never once bought that these people were actually getting killed off on set.
Right.
Like, not at all. Like, didn't buy it for a single second. Also, their people's performances when they're getting killed probably didn't help either. I would say for me, the only cool kill in this movie is that I could remember is like, I would have to say if I had to pick one that I thought was the coolest looking, and that was when at the end of the film where Chucky drills a hole through multiple Malcolm's eye, and that was probably the best looking kill.
I can hear him. I can still hear Chucky inside my head.
And it was such a nice place to visit.
Even like certain kills they bring in that is meant to homage other kills, like the one where he throws the glass at the window and stuff like that. That's a homage to. That's a homage to a kill in Bride of Chucky, which Tiffany did. And I just felt like the kill in Bride of Chucky was done a lot better.
Yeah.
Sometimes I scare myself.
Yeah, I think that's about it in regards to things I really did not like with this movie.
Yeah.
So, I guess, what about you?
Yeah, pretty much. I thought this one was okay. Like, I didn't think it was as awful as you did, but...
Yeah. So, let's, move into our rating. So, with that said, I'm going to give Cult of Chucky a 2.5 out of 5 stars.
I'd give it a 3.5.
Now, for me, I think I rated it a bit higher than Seed of Chucky. I do think there's some elements here that are a bit better than Seed of Chucky. Like, it visually looks a lot better. Even though it goes for weird shit, it's not as weird as Seed of Chucky. But at the same time, too, there's a lot of issues in terms of, like, poor acting. Even how they portray some of the characters is just off. The only character and actor that was really good in this was Fiona Dourif as Nico.
Yeah.
So, even Chucky, like Brad Dourif, just didn't seem like he was really that into it compared to the others.
Yeah.
You know, and this is one of the few times I could clearly say that Chucky didn't felt like Chucky to me. Because even at least Seed of Chucky got that right. Even though you had scenes of like Chucky masturbating into a cup, for crying out loud, he still felt like Chucky. And his humor still felt like what Chucky would probably say and all that.
Yeah.
So,
this one not so much.
Not so much. Even his humor in this one's very weak. I really do not like Cult of Chucky. Honestly, I think it's close into being my least favorite with Seed of Chucky. What about you?
Yeah. I think well, obviously I disagree with Seed of Chucky because I really like that one, but this one is definitely my least favorite.
And honestly, I'm at the point now with, because I mean, I thought Don Mancini learned his lesson with the last one because the last one was really good. You know, kind of brought things back to basics and everything like that.
Yeah.
You know, actually made Chucky scary again.
I mean, so my issue is there's not like a Chucky movie that I don't like.
Except for maybe this one.
Well, see, and I still like this one okay. Like, I think it's okay, but it's boring. You know what I mean?
And honestly, I think at this point, I just don't want to see Don Mancini work on this franchise again.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, I'm, not as excited for this upcoming TV show that he's...
Because you think he's going to do the same old crap.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he should just basically hand it to someone else at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm available to do these. I'm totally available for that. So, in fact, you and I were, I was telling you some ideas of how I would do one in that.
Yeah.
So far, a lot of people that I've mentioned these ideas to, in regards to the Chucky movie, really seem to like these ideas.
Yeah.
So, Don Mancini, if you're watching this, which I don't know why you would be, considering there's tons of reviews of this movie out there, but let's say if you just happen to watch this, I'm available to take the charge of a future Chucky project. I could also like, if Brad Dourif doesn't want to do the role anymore, I could voice too.
Yeah.
So that's it for this review. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.